Hi there, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm starting with a sketch from Creative Scrappers, Creating with Sketches Volume 4. And I have a discount code in the information section of this video if you'd like to see it. I'm just going to put it up there in the top corner of this video while I work. I'm going to proceed to completely ignore that, that sketch, and my end product is going to look absolutely nothing like it. But it did give me a starting point in terms of I'm going to put the two square photos side by side, and that's about all that I'm going to do. But it is going to have a triangular look, and there will be circles. So there might be a part of my subconscious that maybe followed the sketch, but I actually ended up burying the sketch in other products on my table in the process of making this one, and I completely forgot to refer back to it. So I'm going to end up not really using it, but I guess it was a really good starting off point for me. And that's what sketches are for, right? You're not married to them. You don't have to stay with it through the whole project. Now, I was live streaming as I created this layout, and somebody on the stream had suggested or challenged me to use those blue letters from HipKit, and I was happy to take on that challenge because I love those blue letters. Those are puffy letter stickers. Almost everything I'm using today will come from the HipKit from May. So if I used anything else, I'll make note of it. So if I don't make note of it, you'll know it came from the kit. Now I have these, it looks like I have 4 photos to scrap, but I actually only have 2 because the first 2 that are kind of separate photos there, on the outsides of the other 2, they actually didn't print very good quality, and that's what I'm explaining right now, is that my Epson PictureMate Charm printer seems to maybe be on its last legs. It's requiring a whole lot of cleaning of the ink, of the ink cartridge or whatever that's called when you just kind of like have to clean the ink heads. That's what you have to do. And it seems like every time I use it, it needs to be cleaned. And so I'm guessing it's just kind of like, it's very, very old and it's lasted a very long time, and I've used it a lot. So I think it's reasonable that these kinds of things only last so long. So I think mine might be on its last legs. So I am just explaining here that these photos, when you look at them really up close, you can see little lines in the doll's face and that sort of, and I really don't want that. So I reprinted it on my Canon Pixma Pro 100. And I'm talking a little bit here about the story behind these photos. So this is a very special doll that I received, I bought it, and then I sent it away to a fairly well-known doll customizer in California, and she sanded down the doll that I sent her. I just sent her the head, and she sanded her down and repainted her herself. And so this is a fully customized, one-of-a-kind doll here, and I'm just so excited to have something from this woman's, to have a doll made by this woman. She's just a very amazing artist, and I love the work that she did. And so that's why I'm going to scrapbook this doll. So I'm just talking about the story behind the doll, and also the artist. She loves Pusheen. She has her profile picture is Pusheen, and she communicated with me via Pusheen stickers much of the time that we were coordinating the work that she was doing for me. And so when she sent the doll, the package was covered in Pusheen. There was a Pusheen stamp, and it was all fun and packaged really cool. And then she also had that Pusheen little post-it note with a little thank you note on it. So I'm going to incorporate that into my page. And so these are 2 4x4 inch photos that I've printed up on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper using my Canon Pixma Pro. And I'm just going to cut these with a very thin border around the edges of them. And that's kind of nice because I can't usually print a 4x4 inch photo with a built-in border on it with my other printer because it prints onto a 4x6. So the biggest I can get would be like 3.8 by 3.8. So it's just slightly, I know there's not that big of a difference, but it's nice to use a slightly bigger picture here. And right from the beginning, I'm thinking I'm going to put these 2 photos side by side like the sketch suggests, and then I'm going to put the Pusheen right in between the 2 of them like that. And now that wasn't going to be my background paper, that one with the words all over it. I was just using that to hold the space so that I know the size of the layout. Now I love that paper because it picks up on the background that the doll is shot in front of. And I don't want it to be my background of my layout though, because that would be just a little bit too much. But I did pick it out as a paper that I wanted to use. Now I grabbed my Tri Art palette because I plan to do some mixed media work. And some people in the stream were suggesting that I try gelatos because they had just bought gelatos and hadn't used them yet. Someone else suggested watercolor crayon or watercolor pencils. And then I'm just talking here about how I'm using the smoother side of this American Crafts white cardstock. And then I think somebody else suggested mermaid markers. And so I wasn't sure if I could use all three of those different products in the same layout, but I thought I'd take them all out and try to use at least some of them. So I'm starting with some golden gesso, and I'm just stirring it up because I haven't used it for a while, and I'm going to spread it really, really thin with this gift card. And I like to spread it really thin because it dries a lot faster. In this case, I do want it to go all the way. Sometimes I just put gesso in the center of the page if that's where my mixed media is going to go. But in this case, I want to cover the whole page with gesso because I might do some mixed media that covers the whole page. And I don't want it to look so different where the mixed media hits the gesso and where it hits the base, the plain cardstock. And so I added some more there. And basically I'm using gesso because it's a primer for my paper. It makes my paper hold up to more watery substances, and it takes a bit more wear and tear and abuse when you coat it with gesso. Also, I find that this gesso that I use warms up the American Crafts cardstock, white cardstock that I get anyways, has a little bit of a bluey purpley tinge to it. So it's not a warm white, it's a cool white. And so I find that when I coat that paper in gesso, it just warms it up a wee little tiny bit. And I like that. And I'm not too careful about applying the gesso. I don't care if there are streaks or lines or anything like that. I want the paper to look pretty rough and not perfect. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm just grabbing some baby wipes so that I can keep my space clean. And I'm just mentioning that that's just a little piece of plastic that comes between the refills of baby wipes. And I use that to just be able to put my baby wipe anywhere I want and not have to worry about soaking something paper underneath of it. So I changed to the to the brown nonstick matte because the webcam that I was using for my live stream was really not liking that white on white. So I just switched to the brown. And that's just totally for technical reasons. So I grabbed some packaging because I thought one of the easiest and quickest ways to use mixed media if you're kind of just beginning, or even if you've been doing it for a long time but just want to do it really quick and almost be guaranteed a nice look, is the paper smooshing technique or the packaging technique. And so I picked this blue. It's called Aqua Dolce. What's it called? Hang on, I'll check. It's called Aqua Dolce, and I'm just putting some of the pigment onto my craft mat there. And I'm going to put a little bit more because I'm remembering I've used this color and I know that it's very, very subtle. It's a very, very light color. So I just sprayed a little tiny drop of water, a couple drops of water, and I'm using my finger to stir it up. I find my finger works fine because I can feel the little beads of non-mixed gelato, and so using my finger really gives me the feedback that I need to make sure that I mix it all up. And so you can see there that that's an extremely subtle look, but I really like when I'm doing mixed media to err on the side of using lighter colors first, and then you can always either layer more layers of the same color to get more intensity, or you can switch up to a darker color or a brighter color as you go along. So I'm just sopping up some of the pools of that liquid pigment on the paper, and then other times I'm just letting it dry because I really like the look of dried up pools of pigment and ink on my pages. And so this paper smooshing technique with gelatos, where you basically just make a little, it's almost like you're making a little little ink or a little bit of watercolory paint. And then I just pick it up. You could also do this right on the packaging and then just, meaning use the packaging as your palette and mix it up on the packaging and then flip it over and smush it all around your page. And so you see, I didn't really think too much. There's no real rhyme or reason to where I put it. I did choose a darker color for my second layer, which is called Snow Cone. And so I'm just talking there about how I like how it pooled up and looks pretty kind of interesting. And now I'm just demonstrating how you could put the gelato right on the page like that. So I just, as you see, I just put some right in the center. I'm using the center because I'm pretty sure my photo is going to go over that. And then I just added some with some water with a paintbrush. And I'm just demonstrating here how if you don't like something, you can just sop it right back up. But that's one of the benefits of using gesso on your page beforehand, is that it's much, much more forgiving. And so you can just, while it's still wet, sop it up with your paper towel and it kind of disappears. Now I wanted to demonstrate the use of colored pencil here. And so when you get the lead wet, the lead of the pencil wet, it really becomes very creamy and liquidy. And so I'm showing a couple of different ways that you can do that. You can dip it in the water. You can use your paintbrush on it. And I'm just showing a little bit on the top and a little bit on the bottom just to show the intensity here. I'm using a watercolor pencil from Stampin' Up! For this. And I don't know the name of the color. These are really old watercolors from Stampin' Up! I don't think they make these anymore. Although I do think they've recently started making watercolor pencils again. They're just probably not the same colors. So I showed here how if you write right on the paper with watercolor pencils, you can add some water and really blend it out. But sometimes you'll still see that little line. That kind of like the little line where the pencil was. And then I just flipped it. That was on the flip side that didn't have gesso. And then I flipped it over to show that you just see a little bit less of those original lines if you use gesso first. So there's lots of good reasons to use gesso when you're doing mixed media. It really is quite forgiving and it really does help these products blend and move around with water in ways that they just don't basically if you don't have gesso, things start to sop right into the cardstock right away and you don't have a whole lot of time to move things around. Now I thought I would also show these Ink Tense colored pencils by Derwent because even though they are a watercolor pencil just like the Stampin' Up! And the Prima ones that I was already showing, these ones are just so vivid. They're just amazing. So if I was talking about watercolor pencils, I felt like I just had to talk about the Derwent Ink Tense ones because they're just beautiful. And again, I showed you how when you write right on the paper with a colored pencil, sometimes you'll still see those original lines. So just to be careful with that. So I did do it in the middle where I was pretty sure it would be covered with stuff. So that was just a whole lot of demonstrating and not necessarily for the purpose of this project. But one thing that I wanted to show is that with mixed media, you can be pretty free with it. And it does, I was just experimenting and demonstrating things that weren't really part of what I wanted to do with my layout. But in doing so, I just inadvertently got a bunch of really nice blue ink all over my background paper, which is just exactly what I wanted. So I was pretty pleased with it. So here are these blue Hip Kit puffy letter stickers that I was challenged to use. As I said, it's a pretty easy challenge. Those are beautiful letter stickers, and I probably would have used them anyways. The Hip Kit also came with these really gorgeous white puffy letter stickers as well. They're thickers. And I just love them. They're called Cloud, and I love how blocky and skinny and tall they are. And they really offset the soft, handwritten, almost cursive. It's not quite, but almost cursive nature of those other letter stickers. So now I'm just feeling like this background paper is just not dark enough, not colorful enough. I do really love color. So I'm going to take some mermaid markers after all. So here I am getting all three different kinds of mediums on there. And so I was just showing how, you don't have to be very careful with these things. Like you can just play and have a lot of fun, spray, squirt, smear, brush, make a good old mess when you're doing this, there's no point in being neat. That's what these techniques are all about. It's about letting gravity and water and the pigments all kind of work and play together, and seeing what you have. So then the resulting background paper is going to have a real organic, natural look to it. And even see how messy I am. I mean, I'm not being careful at all. And you don't have to worry about your brush strokes. Like, see how I'm just kind of smearing it on, almost like a toddler would smear or scribble on a page. And then you just add some water and everything moves around and flows together, and pools occur, and pools give you these nice deep spots of color. And then what happens is, if you let the pool air dry or heat dry it a little bit, and then you pull it up, you kind of dab it with a paper towel, what you get is the dark ring marks around the outsides of the pool, and then the inside of the pool becomes white from the paper towel just sopping the pigment up. And so that gives you a really interesting, nice negative effect as well. I love doing that. I love it when the outside rings of a pool show. So I grabbed my stencils because I felt like this page, like I wanted a little bit more layered on top of these beautiful blue colors. And I chose blue as my background because I wanted, not as my background, but as my media that I was going to be using for color on my background, because it picks up on the blue in the doll's eyes. They're sort of like a greeny blue. So I want something kind of like minty aqua watery color of blue. So these are two Vicky Bouton stencils that are they come in a pack of 3. So there's another circle stencil that I'm not going to use today, but they're designed for layering together. And I thought I might use both of them. And this is golden light molding paste, which is not too different from Liquitex light modeling paste. And that's what I was showing you. See that green cardstock that I have my demos out on? I try to make a demo of most of my mixed media products so I know what they look like. And there was a little bit of really bright green pigment in my golden light molding paste. And so there's some green on this page now, which is totally cool. It actually works out well because the doll's eyes are a little bit more green than blue. And so they're kind of a turquoisey color, I guess. And so that ended up working really well. It was a nice happy accident, as that famous PBS painter guy says. What's his name? Bob Ross. Yeah. So now I have these white circles, and some of them have a little bit of green in them inadvertently, on top of the blue kind of watercolory background that I made with those gelatos and watercolor pencils. I'm just going to dry it, and this stuff dries so amazingly fast. The golden light molding paste dries really, really fast, and it also has a really light, airy feeling to it. In fact, it dries to feel a lot like fun foam on your page. A little bit less soft than flocking, but kind of like you have a bit of fun foam stuck onto your project. So I'm just putting everything back where I wanted it to be, and then I did have to switch it because remember I had demonstrated some of that blue on the top and on the bottom of my page, and I wasn't actually meaning. And I did that purposely on the top and the bottom as far as the demo goes that I did a few minutes ago, because I figured I could always cover this if I don't like it. And so I do indeed want to cover it because it was a different shade of blue than what I wanted to use. And also I just didn't want so much color on the top and bottom. I just didn't like how it looked there. So I'm going to cover it with these paper strips. And this is, again, the paper. It came in the kit, and I wanted to use it because it really does look, it's not the same at all, but because the back is out of focus, it looks very similar to the background fabric that I have behind the doll. So I just used my ATG to glue those in place, and I wasn't too careful about making sure that it was exactly on the bottom there. There's a little edge of white, and that's fine. And now I felt like there's just too much pink here, and so I grabbed some washi tape, and I really like this washi tape because it's a little bit brighter, but this washi tape I thought coordinates a little bit better with the font, with the Myufish font. So Myufish is the name of the artist who customized my doll. So I'm using the warmer blue. It's kind of like a greeny blue. Maybe it's green. I never know where the line is between green and blue. So now everything is back, and I've been blabbering on for a little bit, so I cut that part out. And I like how this is looking. It's really going to give me lots of chances to embellish in 3 different places. So I'm going to use these Maggie Holmes chipboard pieces as my starting off point for embellishments. And at this point, I'm thinking, I wish I could find something fairly large to put behind each of these chipboard pieces. I haven't even picked out the chipboard pieces yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to want to anchor them with something. But I'll just let this play out, and I won't do any spoilers here. So first, I'm just going to go through and pick out anything that's kind of cutesy and feminine and the right colors. Those are my criteria for pulling out embellishments from the ones that came in this kit. And I also grabbed my Freckle Fawn kit, the embellishment kit, and I really liked this. Picture Perfect was very appropriate because I do doll photography, like that's my other hobby. And so Picture Perfect really applies to that, but it's hard. I always have a hard time putting a title like that, like putting a phrase like that. I feel like they sometimes will compete with my title, so I'm pulling it out just in case, but I might not use it. And now I'm realizing, hey, I forgot to use the sketch. And I thought, oh, well, that's okay, because it gave me a good starting off point, and it doesn't really matter. It is going to look it's going to look surprisingly similar to the sketch, because I'm going to use circles in a way that I wasn't really planning to use. So I'm going to stick these down with my ATG. Now, ATG is a wonderful adhesive, and I really do enjoy using it. I'm not 100% loyal to ATG. I do use other adhesive as well. But dry adhesive like that, like a tape runner type of adhesive, is not the greatest for a mixed media project that has modeling paste and those sorts of things on it, because it doesn't always stick very well. So I'm going to have to go back and add a bit of liquid glue after the fact. But for now, that'll hold them in place a little bit better than having them just sit there. So I'm having another look at the embellishments and just kind of trying to gather my thoughts and make sure that I have all of the pieces that I'd like to use. So I'm going to start with this chipboard butterfly and tuck it under there. And what I was thinking as I tuck them under the photo is that I might actually put these on top of the photo, but once they're placed on the photo, they will stick to the photo and I won't be able to move them. So I'm tucking them under the photo just to hold them there, kind of like a place mark to say, I want to put this here. But when I put it, I'll actually put it over the photo. Although I'm going to end up changing my mind about that, which is a-okay. These washi strips from their stickers from Freckled Fawn really caught my eye, especially that scalloped gray one. It really seems like that scalloped gray one is going to give me exactly what I need to kind of anchor this project. I like a neutral, either a navy blue, a black, or a really dark gray on all of my layouts, or sometimes I'll use gold instead, but I like something that's kind of gonna give a layout some impact in a couple of little places, and so that washi strip will serve that purpose. So I'm putting it in the wings there so that I can remember it. And I'm just taking anything that fits the color scheme and that has something kind of delicate and pretty and floral on it, because the doll is wearing a dress that's the skirt is entirely made out of flowers. And I'm taking advantage. One of the things that I'm excited about for this layout is that these photos give me a chance to scrapbook something really pretty and frilly and feminine, which I don't usually get to scrapbook. I do have daughters, so you'd think that I get to scrapbook feminine things all the time, but my girls are kind of tomboyish, or just, like they're not very frou-frou-y. I think I've talked before in another layout about how I don't think that tomboy is even really a relevant term these days, because everybody can just be whatever they are. Like, girls don't have to dress a certain way or act a certain way, and boys don't have to either. And so, yeah, I don't really like calling my girls tomboys, but that's what I guess I would have called them if they were born 20 years ago. I don't like to box my kids into any stereotypes, but man, is it ever fun scrapbooking this doll because it gives me a chance to use all these flowers and doilies and lace, and you guys are going to see all kinds of fun, pretty things go onto this page. So, what am I thinking here? Let me think back. I'm thinking that, see, I've got these 3 clusters of embellishments. So the 3 first chipboard pieces, the rose, the butterfly, and that little vase of flowers, served as the anchor points for all of my embellishments. And I'm thinking I want to anchor them. That's what I'm thinking. So I started, somebody on the live stream said a doily behind the cat would look awesome. And I agreed. So I'm checking out different doilies. I like this lighter gold instead of that really bright orangey gold. And so I'm just talking about how I'm going to have to use Tombow Mono Multi underneath of that photo to hold it in place because it keeps coming loose because I use the ATG. Yeah, I don't really like that too much, but I think I like the pink one better. But if I use the pink one, it's kind of too small. And so I'm wishing I had the gold one, but in pink, like the gold size, but in pink. And then I thought, well, maybe the pink might look good in the other. Maybe I'll use all 3 of them is what I ended up deciding. So scrap the idea of the gold. I don't want to rip it because it's harder for me to find gold doilies. So I definitely didn't want to sacrifice that one or anything. So I pulled it off very, very carefully. I added some Tombow Mono Multi adhesive and my bottle is going a little crazy there. So I had to put a little bit more. I'm just showing that I store my Tombow Mono Multi adhesive upside down in a washi tape roll. And that kind of keeps it so that it's all in the bottom of the nozzle. And now I'm just showing all of my different favorite kinds of doilies because I'm a little doily upset. I have a whole drawer full of doilies and someone asked where I got them. A lot of them are from the dollar store. Some of them are from Studio Calico. Some of them are from Recollections. I got a bunch of Doodlebug little tiny ones at Crop and Create. And then these are very special doilies. They're from Studio Calico. And I mentioned that every time I go to Studio Calico, not go to, but every time I shop there, which isn't all that often, I always put a package of tags and a package of doilies in my cart because they seem to have really nice selections of unique and interesting and very kind of classic doilies and tags in their shop. So Pusheen looks really cute layered with that little doily behind him. And I'm actually liking the chipboard pieces under the photos, although that poses a bit of a problem for me logistically with the photos kind of having something under them that big. But here I'm trying to layer this chipboard with the doily so that there's not a little gap that you can see behind Pusheen's whiskers there. I don't want anything distracting behind there, so I overlapped the rose with the doily so that there was no background paper showing there. And I like how that's looking so far. And now I have to work over here on this little corner. And I usually zoom in to show you guys more details, but I kind of got a little bit distracted because I was live streaming. So I do apologize that this one doesn't show as much detail, but towards the end, I will remember to zoom in. I'll be like, oh, right, I forgot I'm filming this. And I zoom in a little bit at the end to show you some details. So this little tag that I have sticking out here, I'm just going to use my Chamel Gray American Crafts pen to outline that and I didn't want it to have the harsh black outline that I usually do, so I just outlined it in gray. And that just it makes it disappear a little bit less into the background paper. And what am I doing now? Right, I'm trying to, the Tombow Mono Multi adhesive is not drying, so I'm putting some things on top of it, and then I had to take a bit of a break. I think I had to go check on my daughter. At first I had put my ATG and that wasn't heavy enough, and I put golden light molding paste, and then I remembered that is like it always feels like it's in a completely empty jar because it's so light, that molding paste. So I'm putting that water spray bottle on it instead. And now it's all in place and fully dry. And I'm going to work on my third cluster now. Or maybe my title. Yeah, I'm going to do my title first. So I knew I wanted the H to land right around there, so I'm starting with the H, and then I will put all of my other letters in place. And these letter stickers are awesome, and I love the Y. The Y is my favorite letter on the whole sheet, so I'm so happy that Myufish has a Y in it. You know you're a scrapbooker when you're celebrating the spelling of people's names based on the aesthetics of the letters in their names. So here come these cloud white letter stickers, and I'm just going to have to shift some of these Hip Kit puffy letter stickers in order to make my word custom be all nice and straight. So I want the word custom to be all, oops, sorry about that. You probably heard a big noise. My apologies. So in order for custom, I want custom to be all straight and lined up and linear. And then I want Myufish to be very flowy and natural and soft looking. So these two fonts really lend themselves to that. Now I have to pull off the back of this doily a little bit to allow for these three items to layer the way I want them to. And there we go. I'm actually not going to use that journaling piece for journaling. It's just a design element. And so I want the word custom to start on the immediate right side of the descender in the letter Y. And I've been really wanting to use these white letter stickers on a white background. Ever since I saw them, I was like, I need to put these on a white background. Of course, this isn't a plain white background, which just further increases the readability of them. So I'm very pleased to use them here. And I'm doubling up my Stampin' Up! Foam adhesive on the back of that just to hold the space, because that butterfly and the rose are both so thick, like because they're thick chipboard pieces. I need that photo to be up off the page in that top right hand corner. Now these are two gray stickers from the Shawne sticker book that came in the kit. It came in the Project Life kit, actually. And I really love the look of this little label thing. And I want to use it in two places. So I'm just going to break it in half and stick it out in two different places. I love how that looks on this page, but I'm not going to be able to find a good spot for it. So what I have going on right now is I don't like, but I'm just leaving it there while I think a little bit. I thought about putting that little bunny in there, but he seemed like he'd be crowding something, so I just decided to leave him off. But this, I really like this little die cut piece. I especially like the little flower at the top. So I tucked it in under there, and yeah, I'm trying to figure out what to do. I just love that gray weathered wood look. I just love that. I'd like to get picture perfect on this page, but it's just not going to work this time. It works with the theme and the story that I'm trying to tell, but it just doesn't work from a design perspective. So here comes this gray scalloped washi sticker that I've been wanting to use and reserving, kind of knowing that I'd be using it in probably three places. The first of which is going to be below the close-up of the doll's head or face. And so I'm going to put it right there, and then I'm going to toy around with putting it over here. I don't like that angle. It looks a little too harsh to me, but I thought maybe I could cover it by adding something and it wouldn't look as harsh once it's not so big. And then up here. So I like the other two, but this one is problematic for me. It just kind of seems to grab your attention too much because it's too unexpected from everything else. So I shortened it a little bit by tearing some off the end, and that fixes it up a little bit. And I thought, I don't know if I like that. It's only washi tape, so I can easily take it out if I need to. I'm going to leave it there and just sit and decide if it's going to stay or not. So I'm going to try covering it up a little bit to see if I can make it be a little bit less harsh and less eye-catching. And so I put one of these white foam stars. These are from the phrase stickers that come in the kit. It's called Hello Joy. And they're from American Crafts Thickers, of course, and I love those. They're great elements. So I'm putting stars in the 3 different corners as well. And then these are gold outline heart chipboard pieces from the Maggie Holmes chipboard that came in the kit. And oh, I love these so much. I had another set of these in my own stash, and I used those hearts up first. I love those hearts, so I was happy to have a second sheet of those chipboard pieces, if for no other reason than just for those hearts. But I also used a couple of other things as well. As you see, I use lots. So I would like to use those buttons, but they're just too darn big. I love them. I wish they were tiny. So these are little pearlized dots that came in the Freckled Fawn kit that I mentioned at the beginning, or kind of at least earlier than now. And I like the opportunity to use pearl because this is a feminine page. I don't do too many of these. So I thought if ever I'm going to use pearl dots, this is the time. So I pulled out the gray ones because they add a little bit more contrast, just like the gray washi tape does. And now these adorable little wooden daisies, like adorable. I love, love, love those. So they are going to make it onto this page too. But I felt a little tired, like I just needed, like I didn't know what to do next. So I decided to take a little break. And this is actually maybe 20 minutes later. I picked up the layout again and got back to work. So I just chatted for a little while, and then now I'm just deciding where to put them. So I put one in each corner. I was going to put 1 or 2 in each corner. There's enough to put 2 in 2 corners and 1 in the other. And I'm just using my Stampin' Up! Glue pen here to stick down these puffy letter stickers. And oops, it's still coming up, so I'm going to have to add a little bit more. And I'm just talking about that glue and how I can't tell if it dries glossy or not. If you know, you can leave me a comment and let me know. I actually think I decided that it does dry glossy, so that means that you do have to be careful about it not oozing out from under things. And so it oozed when I put these flowers in place. I put a little bit too much glue, and it did ooze out the sides, and it is glossy. So that's a good reason to use Tombow Mono Multi in that sort of a setting. When a glossy glue oozes out the edges, it catches your attention, and I just don't like that very much. Yeah, I decided to put a single wood veneer daisy in each corner just because it seemed like anything else would be overkill. Already this is looking, like much more frilly frou-frou detail-y than what most of my pages look, and because I don't do this too often, I don't want to go overboard. Like I think I'm more at risk of kind of going overboard because I don't have to exercise restraint in this way very often. So I'm trying to because I don't usually go in this direction with my pages. So I grabbed some velvet. It just felt like it needed something else. I thought I was done, actually. And then I thought, no, I think it needs a little something else. It didn't have that oomph. I didn't feel like, oh, that's awesome. So I wanted to just kind of see if I added a few more things, if it might give me that feeling. And so I took this really old to me anyways, decorative lace border from Martha Stewart, and the border punch, and I punched out some vellum with it, and I think it looks so, so pretty. So I layered it under where that washi tape was, and I love it. It's just so subtle, and I knew that, from a design perspective, at this point, the page is looking good. So anything else that I add has to be really, really subtle, or else it's going to throw off the balance. So at this point, I'm adding interest and details, but not trying to change the overall structure or design of the page. So I'm being very careful that what I add is light and airy and not too bold and doesn't take up too much space. So just ignore me here. I'm talking about something different. So now I'm going to punch a couple of little leaves. I thought that I might want some little sprigs sticking out places. I don't know. I see other people doing that. So I thought maybe I could do that. But I didn't like it. So anything that makes you go ugh is something that you should probably not do. It doesn't matter if it makes other people go ugh, but if it makes you go ugh, then that's a sign to not do it. So yeah, I decided to put that lace border over there. I'm not in love with it over there, but I don't know. It doesn't do any harm over there, so I'm just going to leave it for now. I haven't fully committed. I'm kind of thinking I could pull it out if I needed to, but let's just leave it there for a few minutes because it is, you know, like another repetition of things in each of those 3 clusters. I've got washi tape in each of the 3 clusters. I've got vellum in each of the 3 clusters. I've got stars. I've got hearts. I've got a piece of chipboard. I've got the wood veneer. I've got the pearl dots. So I thought, oh, might as well add vellum in each of the 3 corners too. And I could take it out if I wanted to. Now, these are little bundles of gold thread, and that bundle was not little, so I had to cut it a little bit smaller. And one of the things that I'm saying as I'm doing this is that I really don't love Stampin' Up! Thread. There's not many things that I don't love by Stampin' Up!, but their thread is one of the things. It kind of like, it's too crispy. Like when you bend and turn it, it creates harsh corners more easily than other gold thread that I've worked with. I usually get the Coats thread, but I was placing an order, so I threw gold thread into my cart because I just like... It saved me a trip from because really I only needed gold thread at Michael's, so I'm not going to go to Michael's just for that. Couldn't get my Tombow Mono Multi working, even though I store it upside down. So I switched to Tombow Mono Aqua, which is for like paper on paper, but it'll hold this. It's only thread. It's not going to be too hard to hold it in place. I don't want to fiddle too much, but I kind of moved the thread around a little bit to look pleasing to my eye. And here I just pulled off some of that vellum edge. I just made it smaller and I like it more now. So we're going to leave it put. So now I need to do my journaling, and I thought about putting it up in the top left-hand corner of the page, but I really want to put it underneath of the word custom here. Oh no! I guess you're not going to see me do this journaling. Oh, yes, you are. Phew, good. And I have been journaling off the top of my head lately, but I decided not to tempt the fates and try to do that again because I felt like it's been going well. So let's just kind of sketch this one out ahead of time just to make sure that it continues to go well. I'm going to grab the layout so I can tell you what this says. It says, after admiring her work for a few years, I finally have a custom Myufish Yolume. And Yolume is just the model of the doll. She's like a little girl doll. So I went to go to erase my pencil mark. I used a Sharpie marker. I went to erase my pencil marks and it started to smear my writing. So I was kind of wondering whether if I had used my Lumocolor marker instead, my Staedtler Lumocolor, if it might have erased better. And then I was also hypothesizing that perhaps it's the gesso that's making the marker stay on top of the paper instead of soaking into the paper. And therefore, when I go to erase the pencil marks, it's also erasing the marker. So anyhow, despite me planning it out and sketching it out, it ends up still not looking all that like perfectly beautiful. But I actually don't mind that you can see many of the little pencil marks behind. It does give it a bit of a casual look. Like I can't tell if it looks like, you know, she pre-sketched it and forgot to erase her lines, or if it looks just kind of like shaky, kind of like almost purposely shaky and messy. I'm hoping it looks more like the latter. And it really doesn't matter. Things don't have to be perfect. So I'm using more of that Stampin' Up! Glue pen. I really like it because you can control the glue so much. The needle point is so fine and you can really get the glue in just the little tiny places and not have it oozing everywhere. So just putting a little bit on the little places that don't have holes in them. And I trimmed this vellum border down really, really thin. I just punched more of the same border punch and put a little bit at the bottom and a little bit at the top just for very final touches. So now I'm just going to show you the video close-ups, and there will be some photos after this. One thing that I thought after everything was said and done was that some gold stitching might have looked really nice over top of that little strip of vellum at the top and at the bottom, just to tie in with the gold thread that shows up in the main part of the layout, and also just to kind of give it that nice finished look that sewing often gives to a page. So right there on that bottom little strip of vellum, and then also on the top strip of vellum there too. And so I really like how this one came together. It was so much fun. I mean, it was fun because I was hanging out with lots of scrappy peeps on live stream. So it was going to be fun anyways, but I actually really ended up loving how this one turned out. I think it's a really nice way for me to document this kind of very special doll. I do have a fairly large doll collection, but this one is especially special. And I think that these photos really show off her cuteness and the beauty that the artist was able to, I guess, capture in her sweet little face. So I'll ask you to check out our Facebook group in the information section below if you'd like to join us for scrappy conversations and our 27-day challenge, which takes place exclusively on the Facebook page for now, just until I get caught up on my backlog of videos. Also, click on my little profile picture at the very end of these photos. You'll see a screen come up. Click on my profile picture to subscribe to my channel and check out any of these playlists that I have linked here at the end. I post at least one video a week, and I'm open to requests, so leave me a comment if you have any suggestions or would like me to cover something or review something or try a new series or anything like that. I'm open to it. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.